how they attract power, and how they earn respect. I got my partner in crime, Mr. Kevin Carr, in the place to be. What's going on, brother?
Hey man, I'm appreciating the opportunity once again. Blessed more and highly favored to be
That's
here
right.
on this Tuesday, July 7th. And man, look like you building in the background. Come on, what you doing, man?
Oh, this
What's
is
up?
all revolved around the topic that we got going on
Got you.
today. We got a
Okay,
we got
I
a
see you.
special guest that we're gonna share with everybody in regards to a special premiere happening on July 18th,
Mm-hmm.
right in your living room. Right? How about that? Being able to interview the people that's gonna push some powerful content to your living room. So you got to definitely invite the family. We're going from roots to riches, baby. This is how this
Okay.
thing is going to go down. And
Whoa.
but before we get into that, let's talk a little bit about what's happening in the world of music, what's happening in the world of sports. Let's start with the world of sports, man. What's new? I mean, things are starting to percolate a little bit. What's going on?
Yeah, man.
Oh, and before I
Go
do that,
ahead.
let me just introduce you properly. This is Mr. Kevin Carr, the CEO of Pro to CEO, right? And this is the mastermind about doing the non-medallions, which represents champions. And I think today's show, um, man, there's so much. There's confidence, there's humility, there's attitude,
There's
there's
ingenuity, there's opportunism. Come on, there's
opportunity.
humility. There's
I think the theme of today's show is going to be two. It's going to be opportunism and neutralizing the negativity.
okay.
All
I
right.
love it. I
And actually,
love
we're
it.
going to do three. We're going to do three. We're going to do opportunism, neutralizing negativity, and spirituality, spiritual
Okay.
synergy.
Oh
Right.
man.
So, being that you're the expert in transferring athletes from being professionals to the real world, what are you seeing out there with the sports industry? Give us two
Well,
minutes, two
w-
minute brief.
well, I mean, I see it trying to make a comeback. Obviously, they're trying to find their way. It's a lot of uncertainty still in the marketplace. So, where I think each of the leagues have approached it from a standpoint of safeguard, safety is the biggest priority here. And they're doing it where obviously no fans. So, that's actually the biggest change here in America. But what we're seeing is the challenge that comes with this is something that is going to continue to push the industry to redefine itself. So right now, it's just all about piloting and sampling and trying out this new way forward. I do see everybody's kind of waiting on what the NBA is doing. So they converged most recently on Orlando. Not only the NBA, let's not let the ladies not be included. The WNBA is actually probably, as they would say, down the street in Sarasota, Florida,
That's
which
right. That's
is
right.
not too far from you and I. So overall, everything is a wait and see. So far, so good. We haven't heard of any major challenges. We hope to see everybody healthy and safe and competitive, and then we'll see what comes out of this. So hey, stay tuned, right?
Yeah. Well, I gotta say the biggest news in sports is $450 million.
Yeah, I wanted to say that too, but I definitely think that my man Patrick Mahomes, just God bless you, man. I pray that you stay healthy and you attain all the goals that surround that 10-year deal. You have certainly been blessed and had a lot of opportunity before you. I see sky's the limit, as they say. So redefining the NFL salary. Expectations. It couldn't happen to a better guy, actually. So we'll see. You know,
I absolutely agree with you on that. In the music space, there's a lot of backdoor activities.
okay,
People putting projects together. Uh, Versus has been rocking and rolling. Timberland and Swiss Beats are definitely doing a thing. They're going to do another dance hall version, which will be global. Um, I'm hoping it might be Super Cat. I don't know who but it's going to be dumping.
Okay.
Um, schools are opening back up, and what's very interesting, there's a little bit of a buzz of esports and HBCUs really doing some things together. So, and speaking of HBCU, right, we got, let me just kind of lean into the guest who's one of the executive producers and filmmakers and producers of this great new documentary that's coming in. She's Detroit born, but New York made. She
Okay.
makes films that inspire her as a Black woman, trained as an occupational therapist at the prestigious Howard University, the Mecca. Many moons ago, she's volunteered as an actor for directors, taking a master level directing for film class with the esteemed Ethiopian filmmaker Halle Jeremia. Feeling like she won the lottery for so many reasons, she started to pursue a career as an actress in DC. Discontented with the options behind and in front of the camera, like most African Americans, she formed her own production company with two of her best friends, and she started to produce their work. And in 2014, she was diagnosed with breast cancer. Now, with the family now, she decided to go to film school and occupy her time that might be consumed with her diagnosis, learning how to make films instead of being caught up in her condition. At City College was where she focused, and she became very clear. She's produced several films since school, and she is most proud of her thesis film, January 30th, and she uses that as an opener to talk to Black women about health, empowering. Now she shifted her focus to producing the premiere coming July 18th, which is Happy, falling in love with Egypt and learning about the significance of the female voice in the development of civilization. She made saying yes to this project a no-brainer. So I'd like to welcome to Power Moves one of the producers of this great premiere, Roots to Riches, baby. This is Miss Felicia Harden. What's going on, Felicia? Woo!
Oh, what an intro. That's what's up.
Well, you're doing big power moves. You guys have been working on this film, from what I understand, for over almost 3 years now, right?
Yeah, I think it's been like 4. I came into the project 2.5 years ago. So when I stepped on the scene, all the not all the interviews were done, just 2 of them. I think we had 2 more. So I participated in the last 2 interviews, and after that, we just started, just getting ourselves together for July 18th. So yeah,
that is awesome. That is awesome. Well, like we said in the beginning, Power Moves is all about interviewing key influential executives or celebrities or athletes and how they make power moves. And this segment, we really want to talk about money, right? And can you share with us a little bit about the principle of Happy and how does that relate to money?
All right. So Happy is the ancient Egyptian name for the Nile River, and back in early ancient Kemetic times, they the Nile would overflow, and when it overflowed, it left this rich silt, and this silt, everybody that lived by the Nile, they would plant their seeds, and they would just grow all this beautiful food. And the key thing about the Nile River, though, is that, or the Happy River, is that this river provided an existence for everyone to just be okay. And everything was, people traded there, they ate there. Like, it was just a place that helped Black people work together. And it was like a very communal thing. And so this is like the theme that we take throughout the whole film, in terms of, just showing how we started off like this, okay, with this love for each other and working together, cooperative economics, that whole thing. And then transatlantic slave, atrocity happened, and now we're in America, and we are in America spending $1.2 trillion a year and not really having anything to show for it. So the film takes us through this whole journey, but then it ends in like, this is where we are, but these are some of the things that we can do to get back to, into like how it was before, with health and with health and wealth. Excuse me, health and wealth, and Black folks loving each other. So
awesome.
That's like, yeah.
Awesome. Well, in the background, that's what you see, and that is the Nile River with the construction of the dam. So when you was asking Kevin, what do I got going on? This is to commemorate, the Happy River, right? So speaking of which, what does happy mean? And because is that another word for Nile?
Yeah. So the Nile River is something the Greeks, they came along. I believe it was the Greeks that gave it the Nile. It was always the Hapi, which was a female and male principle, which meant communal cooperative economics, working together. So that's what the Hapi is. We think about one of the things I was talking to the director about was that making this film was like, yes, we made Hapi, but we made it in Hapi style. Everyone coming together, cooperative economics. Literally, there's no way one person could have made this film. It's just no way. And all the ancestral help that was made along the way that made things, some things that just seemed like, oh, we would never be able to do. We were able to do it, and so we know that the principle of Hapi was with us, is still with us, and we just want to share it with everybody else. Because we have the potential, Black folks, we have the potential to getting back to how it was before, and if not, even better.
That's excellent. One of the things I'm intrigued about is we're talking about your project now, but take us back a little bit. Who is Felicia in terms of your background, how you got going? There's some educational aspirations, some huge HU pride going on. What is who? How did you get started? What's your makeup, and how did you direct this path towards your interest in film?
Yeah. So I'm actually I don't like to say Army brat because my father was in the Air Force and I was a dependent. So I'm an Air Force dependent. But after high school, I actually I went into the Air Force myself. I applied to a bunch of schools, but my ACT scores wasn't high. Like I got like straight A's in high school, but my ACT scores were low. And I went to a school that was in Illinois that was about 2.5 hours south of Chicago. And I just remember my counselor, who was like this really white woman, and she was not very helpful. She didn't tell me, she was just like, well, you're probably not going to get into anything because your ACT scores are so low. It didn't matter that I was like class president, all this and that. So anyway, I just went to the Air Force following my dad's footsteps. And that's where I became an occupational therapist is the Air Force. I got out and then I went to Howard and I studied occupational therapy, but then I also studied acting. And it's when I came out of Howard where I was just like, this acting game is a joke. Cause it's like, if you go someplace and someone's not feeling you, and it's like, you don't get it. It doesn't matter if, it's literally up to someone else's thought about who you should be, who you can play or not play. So at this point I was like, you know what, I can do this myself. And I got a couple of friends and we just started writing and producing each other's work. Yeah. And so I've always wanted to live in New York. Like that's like the dream of mine forever. And so I had an opportunity to come. I've never looked back. And it's like New York has been very good for me.
Yeah. I think what's interesting about what you just said is taking advantage of an opportunity. And, a lot of times people get frustrated when things don't work out the way they intended to be. And I love their principle of, you know what, if no one's going to choose me, I'm going to create my own lane, right?
Yeah, that's always kind of been me. I'm like, you know what, I'm just going to make it just happen over here. That's always, I know it comes from my family, and it probably comes from deep in my family, people who I don't even know, but I just thank every day. But that spirit of I'll just do it for myself, was really helpful. It's been very helpful in my life, which is really like what Hapi is. It's about, at the time, I was auditioning, and it wasn't like I wasn't auditioning for like Black theater companies. These are white folks, telling me. I remember going to an interview and someone was like, well, can you say there's more Black? you know,
Oh.
like, yeah. So this was like this wasn't even my thing. But once I tapped into working, with the people who I knew, people right in front of me, like these relationships, I think one of the things you said in the beginning, you were talking about making power moves and wealth and things like that. But I think it stems from relationships. It's the relationships that we form that, we don't know what's going to happen, but 10 years down the line, these relationships that we've already, have been cultivating turn into something else, because that's really how, even when I first met Taaqiy, I met him on the street. He was with the production company that was shooting the film, Tahuti Films. They were shooting something. And I was like, well, what are these little black people doing in Harlem? I was waiting for my kids at the Kumon and sitting in my car, started talking to them, and it was literally like the relationship. Taaqiy he also he takes people to Egypt. He's been doing it for 20 years.
Wow.
And so like that night, I was like, oh my God, I was like, dude, you've been doing something for 20 years? Like, that's awesome. And so talking to him, and then I ended up wanting to go to Egypt. I went the following year, actually. But it was literally like our conversation and our relationship that landed me working with Hoppy.
So the energy, it sounds like, you're able to read and get a sense of people, and you're able to adapt and find the opportunity. What can you say about that innate ability that some people kind of wait for things to come to them, and you've been able to kind of saw something in that opportunity and you pushed forward? What is it that about you or about people that they can learn from that? Because look at you, you're doing stuff all over the world now, and that stemmed from you just seeing somebody do something and say, hey, I wonder what those people are doing, and now look at you're doing films, everything else. So what is that about?
That's a great question, Kevin.
No, my kids can't stand the fact that I talk to everybody. They're just like every time when I'm on it. But my thing is like, I like people get me going. I'm always interested in what somebody's doing, and it's always black people. Like I love some black folks. So I just see black people doing stuff. I'm always like, oh, what you doing? And because I had already, this is after I had cancer and I was out of film school, so just seeing someone, filming something, I was like, and I always kind of feel away when they're in Harlem because I'm like, ooh, these people up in Harlem filming, and I'm not filming. So that's really like the thing. But the other piece is that, we have instant camaraderie, black folks. If we use it, because it's like all of us are the same. I know people are like, oh, I'm an individual. Not really. We're all the same in terms of we all want the same things. We want to be okay. We want to have a good life. We want to have somebody that we love. Like we want all of that. And so when you're talking to somebody, it's really connecting with that, And I may be a little obsessive about talking to people, but it's something that I don't know. It's always been in me to do. Yeah.
So what were the challenges in raising capital for this type of documentary? Because, it's easy to say, you know what, we just, did our thing and we just made it happen. But the reality of the situation is, it takes time, right? And you got to have patience. So what is the money? What type of tips can you provide folks who are looking to bootstrap and put things together to make something happen?
So we had early on, before I came onto the project, they had filmed some stuff. And so what Seed, he's the guy who owns the production company, Tahuti Films. His name is Robert, but we call him Seed. Seed and Taaqiy had put together like 45-minute pieces and was showing it places and getting some money. And I think two people actually saw like just a portion of the film and donated large sums of money. I like what you said. Let's not get this twisted. If we were just sitting here with just like gobs of money, this film could be done like in a year. But because when you don't have like lots of money all at one time, you have to just try to figure some stuff out. And I think that's the whole thing about working with a team, and everyone has to be a person who's positive. and like thinking about a solution versus like, oh, how we gonna, that energy is just, it's draining. It's not good for the whatever you're working on. And so we are continuously, even like right now, in a state of, okay, what can we do? We call in a lot of favors. When you look at like just the cast in this film, the cast was there because of the relationship that each of those people had with Taaqiy. Okay. And so they allowed us to sometimes shoot them 2 and 3 times because of technical difficulties. And all that time, like it costs money to get to, Chicago to shoot voice walk-ins. that costs money, all these things. And it's literally the testament of people helping us out. And first when I came in, I was just like, oh, I'll just do stuff because it's not, and that's the other thing. If you're doing something and the only thing you can think about is like, how is this gonna make me some money? Then you're never gonna get the money that you want. You're never gonna be happy because money cannot drive you. It can drive white people, but it can't drive Black people. Okay, and it is interesting because in the film we have Dr. Leonard Jeffries talking about economics, politics, and culture. Those 3 things, and that's what we need so that we can have like the Black Wall Streets and stuff like that. But the part about the money is that having the money, if you don't have the cultural sensitivity or the cultural beliefs and ethics, then the money is just going to pass through our hands, which is like what's happening right now. And so this whole notion of like, yeah, like we, there was times where we're like, I don't know how we're going to pay this, but I know initially getting in, I was just like, okay, I could just do whatever, because everyone's just, this is all hands on deck. Literally, like, there's Taaqiyy's holding a boom, getting someone sound. Like, there's no like, oh, I'm this. It's none of that on this set. And I tell you, thank God for Tahuti Films because his know-how of film and his know-how of like just making something beautiful really added, to this theme of happy, which is like really important. But there's a lot of times, I came in as one thing and I'm like, okay, well, I got some money. I guess I could do this right here. It's literally, like it's like part of your paycheck. You just have to get stuff, because at the end of the day, like things have to get done, and everyone thinks that they don't have any money because they're just, I don't know what their idea of money is. But when you actually start working from a place like, okay, how are we going to make this happen? And you're in a problem solving type of atmosphere, and you find ways. You're like, oh, I can do that. Oh, well, such and such can get us, cheap tickets on the, on the airplane, ride over there, like whatever. Like, there's so many things. If once we start connecting with people, that and ego has to be. It can't be no egos in this game. And that's really how we're, just able to get stuff done.
Neutralizing the negativity, right, Kevin?
Yeah, you got to shutitdown.com. Shutitdown.com. And it's interesting because, yeah, it's like it's very it hasn't been. I don't want to get anybody, like thinking that this film is easy. It's not hard. It's fun because it's something that we all want to do. No one's like, you got to do this. This is something that we love doing. We have a passion for this. But the thing that we really have the passion for is our people. It's like this came to Taaqiy for him to do. And it was like, it was given to him in a way where he couldn't say like, well, I don't want to do it. So it was already in him to make sure that this happens. So we've had a lot of ancestral support, and we don't know what to do. We just call on them.
There you go.
Love that. So how much would you say it takes in terms of when we say opportunism, the ability to be comfortable with risk? When you have looked at the things that you decided to do, not knowing, but you decided to go ahead and take the risk in order to make that move, that power move that we talk about. How much has risk played in that for you?
Damn, Kevin, you bringing it, baby.
I was like, man, I feel like I'm on like the Oprah show or something. Yes. So risk. One thing is that I've always worked. Like I like working because I need to work so I can get some money to like pay for things. So in the back of my mind, I always like felt like if we go out here and we do this, I know that I'll be okay because I have it's in me to like work. You know what I'm saying? To make things happen. it's so interesting because my grandfather on my mother's side, he passed away years ago. And one of the things he said was that when he died, make sure you put a nickel in his pocket so that he know wherever he got to next, he'd be all right. And it's just like, that's the mentality. It's like, that's the mentality that I have in terms of, we're going to make this happen. You know, it just, yeah. But the thing about it is like, if you don't risk anything, like coming to New York was a huge risk for me, like huge risk. But I was like, if I stay in DC, I'll be sad. You know, at the end of the day, I would have I was like, I could have done this, or I could have, you know, who wants to do that? Like, that's not life.
So no regrets, right?
Oh, absolutely none. Well, you know what? I did wish I would have got more real estate when I was younger. But being like, now that I'm half a century, Lord have mercy. My kids are like, you're half a century, Mom. Thanks. Yeah, that's you know. But no, other than that, no, you can't live with regrets. That's not a good life.
Awesome.
What? So could you tap into, because what's interesting is you talked about earlier how the Happy River overflowed and the black silt is what created economic opportunities, right? Yeah. So how would you relate that to a regular person who has a regular job and they're looking to, you know, what is that overflow, that flooding, and where's that opportunity in terms of a mindset? Like, can you kind of give us a quick masterclass before we go on break at 8:30?
Okay, well, you got 2 minutes, okay? You know what? Okay, so for a lot of years, I was very afraid I would tell people, you know, that I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life, okay? Because it's easier to say that because then it gives you an out for you not to do anything. And so I remember meeting some man, it was just like so bizarre because I talked to everybody. It was like this man on a street that I never go down by Howard University. It's like off of Georgia Avenue. I very rarely go down there. So I met this guy, and then I found out that I kind of knew him from like years ago. We started talking, and I'm telling him like, oh, I don't know what I want to do. And he was like, listen, you do know what you want to do. You're just afraid to say it. And I think that's the main thing. When you're sitting up in your job, you're afraid to be like, oh, I really want to be a chef, but you're sitting doing data entry because you don't know how. The first thing is just saying it. That's the hardest thing. Once you can say it, but then in your mind, you have to be like, once you say it, that it can happen. You have to believe that that you were sent here to do something. You got to believe, like, because that's how, you know, and that's one of the things when you're looking at the world through African eyes, is that we are divine intervention. Black people are divine intervention. We were sent here for a divine purpose. We know this to be true. All the history that, you know, that has been written by us solidifies this. This is what, you know, Dr. Wade Nobles, he's also in our film. He talks about this, you know, looking through European eyes, Eurocentric eyes when you're thinking about something or when you're thinking about doing something. You know, I can't, you know, I'm not white. I don't know how white people think. You know, I know that we've been brainwashed to kind of think of how they think. But if we start thinking like in an African-centered divine you know, a divine place, then we're going to be at our jobs like, okay, oh, I want to, you know, be a chef. I'm online. I'm going to figure out, okay, oh, I'm going to do this. I'm going to tell my friend over here, and he's going to help me. You know what I'm saying? Like that's because that's what we've always done. So once we tap back into, you know, the world through African eyes, we're good. You know, because we have the capacity to do it. Every single person. There's not anybody who was like a mistake here. You know, there's none.
Very profound and well said. Well, you take a minute, get you some water because we're gonna go into the next 30 minutes of power. So put your seatbelt on. Right?
That's right.
I gotta put my little seatbelt on for this. All right.
That's right. Well, once again, this is Power Moves, where celebrities, athletes, key influential executives share how they make money, how they attract power, and how they earn respect. After the break.
We'll be back.
Pause. gotta pay some bills over
Listening
here.
to Tampa Bay Tammy
Your girlfriend.
on In Touch Radio. In Touch Radio. Welcome to Calvin's Barbershop.
You all got to see this.
I don't even want to know what you're looking at on that phone.
Well, you should. I was learning about the dangers of high blood pressure and that we need to get ours checked regularly. High blood pressure can increase the risk of heart attack or stroke, but this text program can help keep it at a healthy range. Just text Barbershop to 97779 to sign up.
I'll get right on it as soon as I'm done with this baby panda video.
Text Barbershop to 97779. A message from the American Heart Association and the Ad Council.
It's important to plan ahead for emergencies, like the storm. When it kicked in, we had a plan.
Separated.
We were able to get in touch with each other
and had
in
no
no time.
idea how to find each other.
The whole experience was
the
fine.
most frightening 10 hours of my life.
If there's one piece of advice I'd offer other moms out there, it's to stay calm
don't
and
ignore
keep to the
this
plan.
message.
Some parents plan ahead, some don't. Make sure you know where to find your family in an emergency. Start your plan at ready.gov. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
You're listening to Tampa Bay Tammy
Your girlfriend.
on In Touch Radio. In Touch Radio.
It may be hard to believe, but people just like you are already saving money. FeedThePig.org makes it easy. Their simple savings plan teaches you how to start saving without going overboard, so you don't need to start foraging wild berries.
I was skeptical, but these are actually pretty good.
You don't need to sell your soul to the devil.
$15 is the best I can do.
You just need FeedThePig.org. Don't get left behind. Get tips and tools at FeedThePig.org. Brought to you by the American Institute of CPAs and the Ad Council.
Welcome to Calvin's Barbershop.
You all got to see this.
I don't even want to know what you're looking at on that phone.
Well, you should. I was learning about the dangers of high blood pressure and that we need to get ours checked regularly. High blood pressure can increase the risk of heart attack or stroke, but this text program can help keep it at a healthy range. Just text Barbershop to 97779 to sign up.
I'll get right on it as soon as I'm done with this baby panda video.
Text Barbershop to 97779. A message from the American Heart Association and the Ad Council.
All right, we are back once again. This is Power Moves with one of the producers of the Happy film premiering on July 18th at 7 p.m. Buy your tickets now. Where do they buy their tickets at?
Happyfilm.com. That's HAPIFILM.com. And, to get their tickets, they also get access to a panel discussion that's going to follow the premiere at around like 9:30.
All right. So with that being said, this is the power segment. So let's talk about the power players that's in this documentary. I mean, you got the who's who, from economics professors to cultural anthropologists. I mean, you name it. So kind of, how did you make those power moves?
All right. So to Taaqi's credit, he had he knew most of these people or had access to most of the cast prior to him making this film. This is his third feature film, by the way. He did the Tekken and Nubia prior to this. So like Dr. J is kind of considered like almost his grandfather. So, Dr. J knows everybody knows Dr. Leonard Jeffries and Professor James Smalls. Professor James Small. And Mfudishi is the other, like, it's like three of them that sort of gave Taaqiy the structure for Happy. They didn't say, okay, this is the structure, but all of their teachings, he's been a student of theirs forever. So that's really how the structure and their principles sort of gave us the roadmap in terms of the making of it. But in terms of everybody like knowing each other, if you get one person, then they kind of gave you the number for someone else. And so that's literally how everything went down.
So I want to tap into a couple things because a lot of times people don't know the outreach and the network that Taaqiy has with Professor James Smalls, with Dr. Leonard Jeffries, and Dr. Wade Nobles. So as an example, this is that new show, The Godfather of Harlem.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
The Godfather of Harlem, if I'm not mistaken, the gentleman, oh man, now I forgot his name.
Professor James Small, he's the consultant for the show.
Yes, but I'm talking about, hold on. He's actually Father MC's older brother.
Oh.
And he was at Uptown Records with Puff. So the whole synergies and a lot of the connections that, and then, you know, Professor James Smalls is also connected to Dapper Dan.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Which we were trying to find him for the film. And one Saturday we kept driving up and down Adam Clayton Powell, 125th, all over there trying to find him because he's usually out, but we couldn't. We had to make something else work. But yeah, Dapper Dan.
Dapper Dan. So, so kind of talk to us about how do we tap into our power in order for us to get things done, based off of some excerpts from the documentary that you filmed. Like, why should a person watch the documentary and look for clues on how to tap into their power?
So, in the beginning, the film is sort of like three acts. The first piece is the history, and this is when you get your power, because you're in these pyramids and these tombs. Taaqiy, along with Dr. Solange Ashby, Dr. Zawi Hawis. Their names are, let me kind of think about all their names. Dr. Peter Lacavera, Dr. Leonard Jeffries. In that first part, they are taking you through the pyramids. They're telling you where your African-centered like minds and bodies should be. So it's like after the first third of the film, it's already in you. You know what I'm saying? And so then we go through this middle passage of transatlantic slave, and we have Dr. Jacqueline Badalora, who is a specialist in the term white people. She's out of University of Chicago, so she gives us all this really good history about like how the term white people even came around. So she comes around. I mean, like it's like her is Dr. Julian Melvo, who's an economist. So, and Dr. Boyce Watkins, they're all sort of like in that middle part. And then we end with Ken Kelly, who is the president, and he's actually one of the producers of the film, but he's the president of First Independence Bank and the president of all the 21 banks left. He's the chairperson of those. We have him. We have the We Buy Black. Sharif. It's like all these names. It's like I can see all their faces. Sharif Abdul Malik. We have him. He's the one that started We Buy Black. Mandy Bowman, who did Official Black Wall Street app. And Dr. Now, the three main players, that's Mfudishi, Dr. Leonard Jeffries, and Professor James Small, they're all throughout. They're weaved all throughout. And when you look at the documentary, it's really like looking at a good game of tennis, because one person will say something and it's just, they throw the ball over here, and then the other person is, just kind of piggybacks on what they're saying. And it just continues. And so you're going to develop, that your sense of yourself in that first third.
So question is, we're getting a question, is Ashra Kwesi in this?
Kwesi. Mm-hmm.
Kwesi?
I'm sorry, say who?
Is Ashra Kwesi in this? Is that one of the specialists or experts that would be providing information? We just had a question, just ask.
Oh, okay. No.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, we have we have Dr. Wade Nobles. We have I'm just gonna look at my little list here. Bruce Williams. We have Charles Barron, because the other piece, remember I was telling you guys about economics, culture, and politics. Those three have to go together. And so you have to own the politics in the area that you live so that you can have the economic, piece and the cultural piece. So we have like Charles Barron talking about that. Chester Higgins, He's talking a lot, like in the first third, about the African perspective. So yeah.
Wow. So if you were to kind of give people a sense of when they are looking at this, what should they kind of get out of this? So and some of the beginning and middle and sort of end lessons as they're taking this walk with you. How is it that they're going to be able to use? You mentioned this earlier that you should already be kind of pulled in. How would they use this and take what they learned to go into their work, or take it and put it in their family, put it in their communities, and and even deal with some of our social ills that are going on right now?
Yeah. So I think once you look at the film, you're going to first have to look at it again. It is. It's a lot of information.
It's deep.
Yeah. So when you look at it, you don't want to feel like things are above your head. You want to feel like this is all part of it, because you're going to hear something that you've never heard before. Mm-hmm. You're going to see things. There's actually 2 tombs that they don't even let people in. They're locked, but they unlocked it for us. Okay.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so you're going to see things that no one's actually ever seen. You're going to see it in Hopi. And when you see these things, you're going to walk away, or you should walk away with a sense of pride, because it's in you. Like, these are your ancestors doing this.
Wow.
And so I feel like that's one thing you're going to,
take away.
Walk away with. Yeah. And, you're going to also walk away with more compassion for each other. Especially like that middle piece, just seeing like how, we came here, we have
how productive we were, right?
Falou, Georgina Falou, she's in here, and she talks about, that these people didn't steal slaves. These were teachers. These were architects. These were doctors who were then stripped from their land and brought to America. Okay, so we have to think about that. So it's like during that part, one of the things you may gather is this just whole notion of just compassion for one another. Mm-hmm. And then at the end, it's like when we start talking about all the stuff that we can do, the stuff that's out there, like get your life insurance, getting a checking account, like some basic things, like things that we need to be okay. So you're gonna take all of this with you, okay? And then you're gonna have to go back and look at it again. And sit down with your families, because that's the thing. We really want people to understand that when they sit down, and this is like, it's a way better just in economics, and like if you're just looking at pure economics, because now you can sit at your house with your whole family and watch it for one price, and you should sit down with your whole family and really look at this film, have kids there, ask them questions, let them ask you, questions, and then go find the information out together. Like, this is, I mean, like when I've seen this film like I feel like I've seen it at least 100 times.
So let me ask you this. So walk our audience through, a lot of people may not be akin to buying into this online because it's a brand new phenomenon. So as people are getting more used to this new normal quarantine and restrictions, take us through, you mentioned family. So if I want to really set up my family or my significant other and all that, and we're going to make this really, how do I set myself up? I'm going to your website. I got to be prepared to pay what? And then I've got to, be ready to sit down hour, 2 hours, let me get my popcorn ready. Oh, set me up. Like, let's hook our audience up.
Man, we want more than popcorn if we're going to watch this thing for 2 hours. You can get...
Actually, this is what we want. We want you to make sure you buy, wherever you get your snacks from, that they're from a Black person, okay? There's so many Black folks. Like today, like no one has no excuse not to say, oh, I don't know a Black person who bought this, like who makes this. Because every single person, okay, everybody who's anybody is putting a list of Black people or Black businesses on their website today, which is supposed to be Blackout Tuesday. I don't even know I don't know who came up with this, but there's so many lists out there. So you're gonna first go get your Black business snacks. Okay, you're gonna sit down with everybody who you love, even people who you sort of love. They're gonna sit down too. Okay, you guys gonna sit down. You're gonna purchase. You can purchase your ticket anytime, But whatever email address you use to purchase your ticket will be the same email address that you'll go back to the website and plug in to be able to view it. It will start promptly at 7 o'clock. You'll watch the film. It's 2 hours and 11 minutes. Around 9:30, we'll have some people that were in the film sit down for a panel discussion over Zoom, and you will be able to, like to chat, like not speaking because we're gonna have like hundreds of people like on there, so we won't be able to like talk like how you and I are talking right now, but you'll be able to ask questions, and we'll try to get those answered. So yeah, so then after you watch it, you're gonna let it sink in.
And it looks like
two more people after.
It looks like we got somebody that just popped on in.
Yeah, I don't see his face. Where's he at?
He hiding back there. He don't want the audience to see him, or he might be busy working on the film. Come on, let's see. He's
still editing, right?
Okay.
Oh my gosh.
So let me ask a question on diversity of this film. Could we say this is a film for everybody? Can everybody get something from this? So let's bring other people to some degree. Our Latino brothers and sisters, Caucasian. What can this mean for other audiences beyond the African American experience? Talk to us.
You know what? Our history is world history.
Okay.
It's like our history is world history. So it's, this is not a film where we're going to be like, oh, we don't like that. That's not that type of film.
Okay.
Yeah, it's absolutely not that type of film. No, we have these are premier psychologists and historians. We cannot put them in a film where we're, like rhetoric, because rhetoric doesn't get anything done. Okay. You know how I am about, we need to get some stuff done. Okay. So no, like this is a film everybody can sit down because you will learn something. You will learn if you are Caucasian, you're going to learn something about Black folks. If you're Latino, you're going to learn something about Black folks. But what I can say is this: we're not apologizing for being Black in this film. I will say that that this is us talking about us. We rarely do this, and in this type of documentary, this is great because all the people behind the scenes were Black people. We have some. Caucasian people talking in the film, but it's majority of Black folks.
Well, and let's just introduce real quickly the executive producer and director of Happy, in which he's done 2 other documentaries, Nubia, like you mentioned before, The Untold Story, and Tekken. And now he's brought the brightest minds in psychology, history, business to explore the big picture, and has opened it up. And as a matter of fact, our producer, she said she just bought her ticket. So, you guys are already making power moves.
Yeah.
So without further ado, here is Taaqiy Grant, my man from Queens, baby. What's up?
Oh, he's from the Bronx.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah, you better watch that, man. You from Brooklyn. You causing beef up in here. You causing beef up in here. What's up?
You know. What's up, Taaqiy?
He might be on mute if he is. But if
hello?
Oh, there we go. Go ahead, man.
Okay. All right. I'm glad you brothers can hear me. No, definitely from the Bronx. Grew up in Queens, kind of both back and forth.
That's that New York pride coming through. Everybody got claim they borough up in
here. It's funny, but that's the New York creed.
That is
that is the New York. That is the New York.
You wouldn't
creed.
be New York, so you true New Yorker saying that. Go ahead.
Everything in New York was about where you were from.
Yeah,
everything.
That's right.
And it subdivided from boroughs to sections of boroughs, the projects, the side of what buildings you were from. Everything was where you were from. That's what New York was about. So I just want to go into that question you guys asked a minute ago about the diversity of the film.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things I realized is when you talk about education or just world history, is that by and large, the majority of people in this world are ignorant. Mm-hmm. Not just the Black people, and by and large, it's the Caucasian people, the white people. And the illusion of white superiority starts with the educational system. So white people have been miseducated, with the fact that, they are superior based on the education system, and that's the way it was designed. So we really probably even fact, you need to start with them first. But like Felicia said, the film was made with us unapologetically being black. But they need to see it. And it's funny because we've boosted some posts on Facebook recently, and we get some interesting comments from, various white people. Some of them are okay. Some of them just like it. And some of them have some real ignorant shit to say. Sorry for cursing. But, you realize they're ignorant, and their ignorance comes from a lack of education. They have no clue of world history. They have no clue of geography. Most Americans don't in general.
Yeah.
But particularly But particularly these white people, you really, we've always been under the illusion of that, I guess I remember years ago they came out with this study that they were mentally superior and black people were genetically or physically superior. But we really find out that that's not the case. And we know that's not the case. And you realize that the education system where it is, it was set up and designed a certain way, but they are failing as well. And it's not just black people failing in education, it's white people failing in education, particularly when it comes to world history. Because when you put the situation and you put the world where it belongs and you orient everything the way it's properly supposed to be oriented, people begin to look at everything differently. And you know the truth, you know what's going on. You're like, oh shit, black people did build the pyramids. They were the first people on Earth. They were the first scientists, mathematicians, philosophers. They did educate me. They taught the Greeks and the Romans. That makes you look at yourself differently. It makes you look at black people differently. So it's the diversity of the film is something that, we hope that doesn't just educate our people, but we can open up dialogue and discussions for everybody. People can understand, like, yo, y'all need to get y'all shit together because the reason why the world is the way it is because you're ignorant.
So, I'm happy you mentioned that point, Taaqiy, because we're going to be wrapping up. We got about 5 minutes left. And I want to pose a question to both you and Felicia, and you're touching on it. So it is a perfect segue, is the respect factor, right? How does, after you've watched this film, how do you think what is your intention in terms of respect overall?
So my intention is not to garner any respect from Europeans. That's not why we did this. We want to educate our people. We want them to take pride in something that they have accomplished. And we want them to take ownership. And when I think about ownership in the sense of like, yo, we did this. Like Felicia said, a black crew, we produced this film collectively. So it's important that as black people, we take pride in that. And the ownership comes in with the pride. And the respect comes in self-esteem respect. Because as Dr. J always says, and every time I have these interviews, I always say this, I can't reiterate this enough. Whoever controls the images controls the self-esteem, self-respect, and self-development of the people. And it's so imperative that we have our own narrative and we control our images. We make our images for our own history so that we can have self-respect. And you see what's happening now. I mean, like, I think the four or five major cities around the country. I mean, listen, I got to bring it up. The gunplay is crazy right now.
Mm-hmm.
In New York has never really been traditionally a real big gun town. I mean, per capita, we had a lot of people, so the murders we had in New York seemed like a lot, but compared to other cities, it was kind of small. And it's always been like that. But now that dynamic has changed somewhat, and you see, like, it's insane right now what's going on, especially in the midst of all the discussions we're having and everything we're seeing on TV. These people are lynching people. You know what I'm saying? And like, we're like just in the streets playing like it's fucking OK Corral. It's crazy. So there's a huge self-respect issue that we're lacking. Like Malcolm said, they made us hate black. And by making you hate black, you hate what you see in the mirror. When you look in the mirror, you see a black person that looks like you, and you want to hurt that person because you hate yourself. So it's very fundamental, and sometimes it seems so fundamental that the problem is like not really that difficult to solve. But it's so deeply entrenched in who we are, it's really difficult to get it out of that cycle. And we keep going to these vicious cycles because it's generation after generation. And some of these cats, kid got shot, 14-year-old, crossfire in Queens yesterday, he got shot in the head. But it's insane what's happening right now. And especially in the midst of what's going on. Right. It's like, if any time, like, you should think about like, yo, let's put our guns down, let's put our beef down, let's get together. There's so much going on in the world right now, in the streets, and let's figure out a way how to have peace. But
So this is a real compelling reason why this film is so important.
Absolutely. And the film is going to touch on several different areas in terms of life, you know, from the young, the old, the black, the brown, you know what I'm saying, the white. There will be something there for everyone. People can watch it and garner some type of inspiration, some type of wisdom, some type of knowledge they can employ in their lives and want to do better. You know what I'm saying? With that said, though, the film was written and produced, directed with us in mind, and wanted to make a change in our community. Whoever comes on board after that and around that, that's okay. But our mission is our race first.
Well, you know, we only got about 60 seconds left, so this is an opportunity to do another quick commercial. Where to buy the tickets, the handles, social media. It's your commercial. Like I said, this film is about going from roots to riches, baby. Let's go.
Happyfilm.com, www.happyfilm.com is actually roots to riches. I love it. We also call it from crops to stock. An evolution of economic history, spanning from the beginning of time until the present day. The film will touch on various different things that can help you elevate your life and give you solutions that will better your economic standing. Tickets now. The first premiere is going to be on Saturday, July 18th, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Watch it with your friends, watch it with your families, have watch parties in your homes. You're going to want to see it. Tell everyone now, when you purchase a ticket, prepare to watch it on something that's a large screen. It'll be web-based, or generated through the web. If you have access to a Fire Stick or some type of device, or even be able to plug your phone or your laptop or whatever into your television, you're going to want to do that. Again, Saturday, July 18th, 7 p.m., www.happyfilm.com. And for those who are ticket holders, you will be invited to an exclusive after-showing panel discussion with some of the key cast members in the film.
And your social media handles.
All Happy Film. Happy Film at Facebook, Happy Film at Instagram, and our website, happyfilm.com. You can also go and sign up for our newsletter we do every month and get some more information. And Twitter is Happy Film.
And YouTube?
And YouTube is Happy Film.
All right.
All the Happy Film.
Keep it simple, keep it consistent.
That's right. Excellent. Well, great job, guys. Once again, this is Power Moves, where celebrities, athletes, key influential executives share how they make money, how they attract power, and how they earn respect. Go check out Happy Films, July 18th, the premiere, 7 p.m. We are out.
All right. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Peace.
Really cool. Thank you, guys.